missing the Ivory Scott. You know, like, I'm from the south side of Chicago. You know, I grew up in poverty. You know what I'm saying? My dad was an active drug user. My mom wasn't in the picture. I was basically raised by my sister. And I'm trying not to get emotional a little bit, but I was raised by my sister, and she, you know, was my biggest fan as an artist, you know. And, sorry. Like, you know, so my sister passed away in 2020, you know what I'm saying? And my sister never got to see any of my success. She only saw the grind, you know what I'm saying, that I was doing. I moved to California. I left Chicago when I was 17. I lived in my car for 9 months. I chased this dream, you know, to be an artist and be a songwriter. And have a conversation with JY, you know what I'm saying, about like me stepping out and being an artist, kind of transform my vision for myself. Initially, we was gonna call the project Ebony, you know, and it was gonna be a project that's based on talking about, you know, our women, you know, about our black women, and you know, showing so much love. But when Real came out, I felt the impact. You know, I felt the impact. You know, looking in the comments. You know, I was talking in that podcast earlier today about, you know, the impact of music and how, like, I'm a comment diver, and I would dive in the comments and I would see, like, you know, people in the comments saying like, man, I almost killed myself. I heard this song. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going through it right now. This song got me through. And I feel like, you know, when God put purpose on your life, you know, you got to follow into that purpose. So I had to change the direction of my project. And, you know, the one thing that I love about MNRK so much is that they flow with me. You know what I'm saying? They don't push me in a direction to say, hey, no, stick to this or do this, you know, or just stick to this sound. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough. Like, I've had a lot of offers, you know, as an artist, but they were all trying to put me in a box, you know, and I'm not an R&B singer. I'm not a rapper. I'm just Ivory Scott. I'm an artist, you know what I mean? And it's tough for a lot of labels to see that and to see that vision, especially with zero strings. You know, all the plaques, all the trophies, Ivory Scott as an artist was nobody when MNRK signed me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm super appreciative for what they've done for me and putting me in position and allowing me to be able to impact the music industry as an artist with my face. This project, Mud, you know, is self-explanatory. You know, I got it out the mud. You know, it's a motivational testimony for me, you know, that I've, you know, where I've come from. You know, I came from nothing. You know, I grew up in a house with no lights, no stove, you know, no food, nothing, you know, and the thing is that though I'm so far away, and I got diamonds, and I got property, and I own businesses, and I own all these things, I remember that there is still a young man, you know what I'm saying, like myself, that don't got nothing, you know, that is seeing what I saw, you know, when I was coming up, you know what I mean, and I'm a voice for him, I'm a reflection for him, so he can be able to say, you know what, I can do it, if Ivory Scott can do it. And that's what this project is a testimony to that. So on this project, you're gonna find a lot of songs that I'm talking about personal stuff. I'm talking about things that, you know, you can relate to, or maybe you can't, maybe it's too far away. But one thing for sure, you know, I'm always firm on what comes from the heart goes to the heart. And that's what this project is to me. It means so much to me to be able to be in here with so many, you know, legendary people and great people, and, you know, be able to share my story and share my testimony and continue my journey, you know what I'm saying, with so many beautiful people. Thank y'all. So thank y'all for coming. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have fun with this project.
Your first project.
I appreciate it. My
first album.
First album ever.
Oh,
Appreciate y'all.